Thanks, Leah, for the introduction. Yeah, like Leah mentioned, I hope you guys enjoyed the sessions we did on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially the one from yesterday that it's actually a prerequisite for understanding today's topic when we specifically dive into the integration we've done with Slack and customizations of the bot. So if I look at today's webinar, I'm going to be talking about ChatOps. What is ChatOps? Why you'll find ChatOps helpful, go over the integration and installation we've built specifically with Slack, explore all the different plugins that are already part of this integration, make some customizations to add additional plugins, and then Q&A. So we're going to be talking about a lot of cool things, so fasten your seatbelt. So what is ChatOps, right? Most enterprises these days are kind of shying away from email to do their day-to-day collaborator work. And they're using mostly these modern chat tools like Slack, Microsoft Teams, and a bunch of other applications, right? The good thing about these applications is that most of them come equipped with bots. So what is ChatOps? ChatOps is basically use of these chat clients, chatbots, these real-time communication tools to facilitate collaboration and help with your day-to-day operations. Basically, the way things are communicated and also certain tasks, how they are executed. It's on-demand access to quick information. So why do we need ChatOps? If you think about this, network admins or network operators typically spend, even if you're doing 50 hours a week, you're only spending about 25 to 30% of the time in the office. And this is when you have access to all your equipment and tools that you use on your day-to-day basis to troubleshoot your network. But problems in the network can occur any time during the week, right? Especially when you don't need them. Probably you're having a picnic in the park or out in the wilderness, attending a concert, or maybe had one too many to drink at a bar, right? So that is where ChatOps makes a huge difference in your organization. On-demand access to quick information. All you need to do is ask the bot, right? What is the status of my CloudGenix network? How is my link performing? What is the application on a particular site? How is that performing? How's the health, the overall health of my application? If you have an upgrade plan for the weekend, you don't have to sit at home. You can probably go out, step out for a meal, and on your phone, check what is the software status? What is the status of that upgrade? What are the events in the past hour or the past day? Sky is the limit, on what you can achieve with ChatOps. And all this information is available to you without the need to VPN into the office or log in to your office laptop. What it does is basically dispatch, lets you dispatch cases from your phone. All this information is quite literally available at your fingertips. It's extremely simple to build and hugely impactful. Like, it definitely makes the quality of life for your admins better. In the future, what you can do is integrate these tools with your CI/CD processes, and that will definitely help your DevOps and Helpdesk team. So because CloudGenix is 100% RESTful, there's no CLI under the hood, it's easy for us to integrate with all of these applications. So we've built an integration with Slack, and I'm going to walk you through this process, how, if your organization is using Slack, how you can download this utility and then get going in a matter of minutes. So to integrate CloudGenix Slackbot, it's a simple 5-step process, right? You have to install the Slackbot package, create a bot application on Slack, create an auth token so that you can access the resources on the CloudGenix side of things, configure your settings file, and then finally run the bot. To look at the detailed instructions, this is just to give you an overview what each of these steps entail. I'm actually going to walk you through the entire process, so we'll see it in action, right? So step one, the very first thing that you do is you install your Slackbot, right? It's available using the pip utility, so it's publicly available package. And to show you how easy it is, you don't need any underlying dependencies, right? So here I've created a virtual environment. It's a completely clean environment, and I'm installing the Slackbot package. What you'll also notice is towards the end, when it installs this package, it also installs a bunch of other CloudGenix packages that it uses internally. So it's a simple one command, and you have the package ready. For step 2, you want to create a bot. You want to create an application on Slack which will respond to all of your bot commands. To do that, you open your Slack app, click on your name, click on Settings and Administration, then Workspace Settings. Then you need to click on Configure App. Once you press that, it'll open a web page. And on that web page, under Applications, if you click Custom Integrations, you'll see there's an option for bots. So if you click on bots, you'll see the option to create a new bot. Click on Add to Slack. Give it a unique name, and then add bot integration. At this point in time, you can add, customizations to your bot. Let's say you want to, add maybe a cool picture or some other parameters that you can configure. On this page, you'll also see the API key. Make sure you copy this because this is something that we're going to use later on in our settings file. Step 3, now we have to make sure you have an authenticated way to access the CloudGenix network, CloudGenix resources. So we're going to create an auth token. So you log into the CloudGenix controller and then click on System Administration. Once you click on System Admin, go to auth token, and then click on Create Auth Token. Once you do that, you need to pick what role this particular this token needs to be assigned, right? You can, for the current integration, we're only going to need view only, but as you build more integrations, you can give it, either network admin or super, depending on the plugins you're planning to build. Give it an expiration date, and then hit create. This is where the auth token pops up, and then make sure you copy this. Step 4 is to configure the settings file. So if you look at the settings file, we have the API token from Slack, which I've copied here, and this is my CloudGenix auth token. Also in this config file, in the settings file, you'll see I can give it a channel. Let's say I want to do debugging on how this bot is performing, maybe crashes or errors or just regular run logs. You can create a channel and then make sure all the logs are sent to that particular channel. You can also configure a default reply. Let's say you're on the bot and then somebody mistyped a command. This is the default message that will be printed out. Or maybe your app or your bot is malfunctioning. This will be the message that will be responded back. And finally, step 5, you just need to run the bot script. The bot will be available when your ID to name cache is successfully updated, and you'll see the bot is now online or Slack. So let's explore what are the different plugins that are already part of this integration, right? So once you go to Slack, you can have a direct chat with Superbot. You see it's available as one of the names under application, or you can create a channel and invite this bot on that channel. So I'm having a direct communication, a direct chat with this bot here. So if I hit help, you'll see this is the response that I get. So these are the existing plugins that we've already supported with this integration. So let's explore each one of these one by one. Show sites. It's going to show me a list of all the sites that are part of this demo tenant of mine, right? You want to see what is their current admin status, what domains they belong to. It basically lists the entire site in your tenant. Let's say I'm interested in a particular site, and maybe I'm kind of struggling to remember the exact name, and that's fine because we have fuzzy logic incorporated. So what I'm doing here is, okay, this is my lab. It's called automation, but I don't remember if it's automation lab or automation _ lab. So all I need to do is just type show site auto, and the bot recognizes that, okay, this is probably what you meant. and it will show me the response. So here you can see site-specific information such as address. You can see what are the different security and path policies assigned to this site as well. If you're interested in knowing how your circuits are performing, how the paths on a particular site, we have a command for that as well. So if you do show paths of chi, again, in this scenario, I don't really remember the name of a Chicago branch. I'm just going to write show paths of chi, and it recognizes its Chicago branch, and this is what it responds with. So here you can see I have an internet connectivity from Charter, and I have a private connection, an MPLS line provided by Verizon. You also see a whole bunch of VPNs, and you can see where the VPN start and terminates as well, and you can see what the status of these VPN links are. The red indicates that the link is down, green means it's up and it's functioning. Let's say I'm interested in a particular application, right? Maybe you get a support call saying that some custom application that you built is going out on the internet instead of it taking the private circuit. So you want to see the app definition. So you can just go to your Slack, show app reg-ex, and here you can see the application definition. You can see what are the different domains, what is the transfer type, what is the application type, and a bunch of other metrics. So this particular scenario, you can help debug. Maybe there's a certain domain in your custom application that you haven't captured appropriately. So you can come here, look at the application definition, and make edits accordingly. If you want to see how an application is performing at a particular site, you use the command show application. Now this one's specifically for DNS. You want to see how DNS is performing at my corporate site. So of all the paths that the DNS is allowed to go on, you can see what the average response time is, what the standard deviations, and the max time as well. So you can see across all the different paths how DNS is performing. If you want to look at media applications on a particular site, you can do that as well. You can see media metrics, how that application is performing on all of the different paths that it's allowed to go on. So here you can see path status for the app. If the app is, what the current status of that path is. For audio, you'll see bandwidth utilization, packet loss, jitter, MOS in and MOS out. For video, you get to see bandwidth utilization, packet loss, and jitter. So all of these metrics are extremely helpful for you to troubleshoot and understand what's going on in your network. And then you can just take a look at this and then send this information to your network admin or whoever is your support guy, and then he can debug further. So these are all the integrations that are already part of the integration that we've built with Slack. Let's explore at some of the customizations that you can add and how easy it is to add additional plugins, right? Again, it's a simple 5-step process. What you need to do is basically write functions to address your plugin needs. So you can either edit an existing file or create a new file to incorporate your plugins. Next thing you want to do is use inbuilt helper functions to format your output. So either display it in a tabular format, if you want to do some form of name to ID mapping, rename the display columns of the tables that will be displayed on Slack. So there's a whole bunch of helper functions that we've already built in that you can leverage. Next thing you want to do is basically define a logic in init.py file and decorate it with Slackbot's respond to utility. So that basically makes sure that anytime you enter the command on Slack, that is the function that will be called, and that's the logic that will follow. And finally, make sure you edit the help text so that everybody else in your organization who plans to use Slackbot knows that there's additional plugins added that they can use. So let's explore how we can add this customization. So very first step, create the example that we're going to look at today is to show inventory, right? If you want to look at all the different devices that are already allocated to your tenants, you can, this is the utility that you can use, right? So I have two plugin functions here. One is to get inventory, or basically show inventory based on the CloudGenix model. So we have a bunch of different flavors of devices. You can either use that, or if I want to take a look at inventory based on a particular site. So I have two different functions set up for that. Let's look at specifically the function where we get inventory based on models. So, right, it's three simple steps that this function does, right? It uses the SDK to query for machines. So this is something that you might have explored yesterday, right? How our SDK supports these different HTTPS methods and how we have different resources that you can query for. So if you take a look at our GitHub or our developers portal to see the bunch of different metrics that we support, machines is, in the CloudGenix language is basically all our devices, right? So what it's doing here is querying for all the machines. Next thing it's doing is based on the model information, based on the string that you provided when you enter on the Slackbot, the command, it's filtering this response, right? So if you're saying, okay, get me inventory all, get me everything, so it's going to return the entire list. Whereas if you specified a certain model name, or if you specified a certain machine type, it's going to filter your response based on that. And then finally, what it does is it returns a formatted tabular output to Slackbot for Slackbot to display. So if you see it's using this function table_output. What is table_output? It is one of the helper functions that we've used. So if you want to leverage all the different helper functions that we have, make sure you import that. So this is one of the key things you have to do is from helpers. So this is the only one that I'm using for this particular plugin. So I've only imported table_output, but feel free to explore this file for other functions as well. So once I import this, I can use this this function to format my output, right? So if you look at this function, the way it operates is I'm giving it a filtered list and a bunch of other parameters as well. So what are those parameters? So I'm basically asking this function to filter all my attributes using regular expression. So you can specify from the list of dictionaries that you've passed it, what are the different attributes you want to be displayed on Slackbot versus what are the ones that you want to be hidden. So you use like a regular expression to decide that. And then finally, I'm saying order my output by a certain set of attributes. So I'm filtering, I'm ordering my output based on serial number and then on model name. Next thing I want to do is import this newly written function in my init.py file that will be leveraged by the plugin function wherein all the logic to call these particular functions is going to be written, right? So this is my function, show inventory, and I have this logic derived here that says, okay, if it's any of these attributes, make sure you call the model, whereas if it's not any of these keywords, then I can safely assume that the user is requesting for inventory from site, and I'm going to call this function, right? And there's fuzzy logic, like I mentioned, all be incorporated in here. Make sure you decorate it with Slackbot's respond to utility. So this utility, what it does is anytime somebody enters show inventory and a string after that on Slackbot, this is the function that will be called. So make sure that you do that, decorate it with the respond to utility. And then finally, update the help text. This is to make sure you're adding the newly included command so that it's available for people to use. All right. Now rerun this newly built plugin. Again, it's the same command, run bot. You just need to execute that script. And your bot is available for use as soon as your ID to name cache is successfully updated, right? So now if you want to see the plugin in action, if I go to Slackbot and now hit help, you'll see this is a new pop-up over there. It basically shows inventory and what are the different options that I can leverage with this command. So if I type in show inventory all, this is my demo lab. So you can see I have a bunch of virtual ions. some ION 2000, so it's showing me all the inventory, all the different devices that are allocated to this particular tenant. If I want to filter based on model name, so I'm giving it, okay, show me all the ION 3000s I have, so it looks like I have none, whereas ION 2000, this is what it shows. If I'm interested in inventory at a particular site, again, I just say show inventory auto, and it recognizes that I meant automation lab, and it displays the different devices that are allocated at this site. Same for Chicago branch as well. So you saw, again, it was a simple 5-step procedure to extend your plugin functionality and add, like I said, the sky is the limit in what you can achieve. The example that I showed you was just to get inventory, but you can add extensions where you wanna look at events, or you wanna look at your software status. But not just that, there's a whole bunch of different other capabilities that we can provide. If you wanna, let's say, bounce an interface or clear stats on a particular interface. Download reports, or maybe run, simple tests, send simple probes, send a ping test or a trace route or any other curl command, and making sure all of this is, fully authenticated. So the idea is, like I mentioned, the sky is the limit in what you can achieve with this. It's extremely simple to build and hugely impactful for your organization. It definitely makes the quality of life better for your admins. And there's a whole lot of time freed up where they can leverage this time to make WAN transformations that are going to be useful to the organization. So that was all about chatbots. Are there any questions?